Community, oh, community, oh, community, oh. A new dawn, a new day. This is the start of the community hour. Success is gratitude. That's my currency. When you love what you do, it's hard to be lazy. Find your passion, accept your truth, sit back, relax. It's time for the community hour. Ramblers, let's get rambling. Live from Las Vegas, it is Blake and
It's me, Ilkar, live from Istanbul, where two continents meet.
yes, this is the Community Hour. So it's our weekly show. Every week, bringing you the hottest guests, the latest guests, mystery guests, latest news, latest memes, everything that's going on in the world of community. Really exciting to be with you here today at 7 a.m. on the West Coast time. What's going on in your world, Ilker? What do you expect from the Community Hour?
Well, to be honest with you, I think I will just expect the unexpected. You'll be very surprised to hear that. I actually haven't seen the intro video, so I'm as amazed as you are. Well, in a good way. It just actually gives the theme of the show, which is basically expect the unexpected in the best way possible. We're here to talk about community, and the cool thing is obviously, we've got the Americas represented by Blake, and of course, well, pretty much the rest of the world. Let's say Europe and Asia, from where I am. I'll just try and deliver the best news, the latest, and the greatest in the community world possible from this side of the planet. Blake.
Yeah, and so the each show will have a little bit of a theme. Today it's gratitude. And when I think of gratitude, I was just thinking I was getting these really nice messages on LinkedIn, sometimes from like text on my phone, just notes of thanks or hey, I really liked when you did this or you helped me out in my career here. And it's just so weird, like just the simplest thing, not a hoodie, not like a free Tesla or free like McDonald's, things like this when people send these little just small notes of thanks can be handwritten or through text any different channel when you get these from different colleagues peers family members friends it just means so much that's just a little bit of gratitude it's so amazing right you've got your coffee you've got your workout but when you get these small little things that are in your disposal it's like so amazing and as community professionals right we've got all these tactics and all these things but it's like where we like some of the most valuable is just listening being close with our members and giving back that gratitude. And even like just professionally, as we come up, who are the orgs? Who are the people that helped us out, gave us a framework or gave us a tip or like helped us get a job? And are we giving that gratitude back? So today, just for everybody out there, just think about gratitude. Think about some people you could give gratitude back. Is there somebody that helped you out somewhere in your life or a community member that you want to reach out to? Maybe it's a great time to do it. So that was my little theme for today. But the only other note for the community hour is just like every week, just getting the latest news, right? We don't need it like 3 months later. If something's exciting going on, we're going to bring in that guest, have the news, things like that. So, Ilker, before we get to our first guest today, what are some of your thoughts on gratitude as a theme for today?
Well, it's just fantastic, and it's one of the underlying themes of community management per se. We just talk about different professions, such as being a developer, being a software developer, where people work in collaboration. But it's also the same for the community management professionals world, so to speak. So basically, we support each other. We are always grateful to each other for supporting us in this new and unexplored world. It's a new theme, it's a new thing, it's a new profession, it's a new area of, let's say, management science. And gratitude just runs in our veins, so to speak, all across the world, across all the community management layers. So therefore, it's only fair that we start with gratitude as a theme. And of course, with regards to the show, I don't think there is another show at this very moment that is live on the channels that we are now, that actually keeps the pulse of the industry in the way that we'd like to. So we will, of course, succeed on some fronts. We may fail on the others, but it's all a learning process. And certainly your feedback will be golden on that regard. Blake?
Yeah, definitely not getting any invites to any what is it? I forget what's the type of singing with the Pavarotti and stuff? Opera singing. I'm definitely not getting any
Opera
opera
singing.
invites based on the show. We can definitely say that. So I will definitely not be getting that today. And just really for the format today, we'll be walking through our guest. We've got a mystery guest that's going to be joining us. We're going to have some cool vendor tools throughout all the shows, bringing you the latest tech and community up close and personal. So we'll be doing that. We've got some news and some memes and some events to talk about as well. Some fun stuff there as well. We've got one guest we're still tracking down for today. So maybe they're lost in traffic in LA. That's perfectly okay. But without further ado, we will bring up our first guest, one of the most amazing community tools that I've seen out there. If at the start of the pandemic, you're like, oh my gosh, now I've got to go to virtual. Now you're into the world of virtual. We're all on our way trying to be like the next Valentina, who's like at the top of the mountain. Valentina is like the best at virtual events. We're all trying to get there. We're all looking at different tactics, different tools that we can use with virtual events to make them more engaging or to get more people to actually attend them, right? There's probably like 5 billion virtual events a day. How in the world are you going to one over the other? One of the tools that we're going to show today with Sammy is a tool called Orbit, not to be confused with another tool, the same name. They are the Orbit with 2 eyes. Orbit, however they add in that extra eye, I'm not really sure. And I'm from the US. But without further ado to our stage, Joker, we've got Sammy from Orbit to come up and talk about Orbit. Woo!
Hello and welcome.
I think we'll just stick with Orbit. You don't have to draw out the eyes in pronunciation. You have to love startup names where everything is just a variation of spellings. But I think we can all agree that space puns and bringing people together tend to be popular in community building. So that is, I think, where we landed there. I'm going to share my screen just to run through some of the things I thought felt like a good high level for our tool. Can you guys see what I'm sharing?
Yes, we got it.
Yes.
Well, that's us. There are 2 eyes. They're friends. I always picture them kind of waving to each other.
Nice.
Intro on myself, just so anyone who I may not know yet can learn a little bit more about me. I'm Samantha, or Sammy. Again, obviously I work here with Orbit as an account executive. Included some fun facts here. I'm in Sarasota. Best fun fact is I am a huge plant lady. If anyone has plant questions, come to me. I have probably way too many of them. Also wanted to include 2 links here in case you want to connect on LinkedIn or find our website online. Orbit is there. We'll keep on moving into the good stuff though, because the tool can kind of speak for itself. So who is Orbit? I know Blake mentioned there is another one out there, but we are the matchmaking engine that is helping power curated community connections at scale. Kind of sounds big picture on that, but we're really an engagement tool to help create meaningful connections within a community, make it effortless, serve networking on kind of a silver platter is our goal here. It should be, in our opinion at least, the building block and the fundamental part of really every community. Just a little quote there from one of our clients on what we do. How it works, I think, is always helpful when we say we're a matchmaking tool. It is powered by AI, so our tool lives off of our opt-in form. The community manager themselves has full control over the match criteria, what discussion topics and ways to kind of subsect the community make the most sense for your specific needs. anything from industry, years of experience, tools you're using, as well as availability, scheduling, discussion topics, things like that. Your audience is then invited, once those have been chosen, to opt into a match round. We can do one-to-one. We're launching our group product here shortly, but they'll fill out a super quick opt-in form, bringing them together. Once that closes, that AI algorithm runs in the background and introductions are made. 2 people speak to each other or more if you're doing the group side of things. And we handle everything with the scheduling, the calendar invite, providing a video link for that. So really, again, that silver platter, trying to make it as easy as possible for all of our time-poor communities to connect. The other side on the community manager benefit is really understanding all of the data that goes into how everyone filled out that initial form, what they're interested in chatting about, who's the most engaged in your audience, as well as feedback, testimonials, NPS, average match rating, all the fun stuff that shows the health behind all of that. Takes about 45 minutes a month. So on the very busy community manager schedule, we definitely want to be as quick as possible to put everything together and review on the back end there. We always like sharing a few of our numbers in terms of success and 2 things. I will chat about this a little bit further on my next slide, but I'm a big fan of quality over quantity. So here, just wanted to share a few of our numbers that we're pretty proud of. Our NPS score across the, at this point, probably 20,000 matches we've made. All of those, we're looking at an NPS of 84. We have an average match rating across all of those at a 4.3 out of 5. The 46% here, I think, is a pretty important number, that month on month, we're consistently seeing about 46% of the people who opted in last month participating in another match round back to back, which is, we think, just a huge sign of how much connection is still just, people need quality, people want to connect with one another and really have some meaningful conversations there. And then an action item, just for anyone who maybe is doing this manually to start, about 87% of our respondents have reported that monthly matches are the best cadence for them on that front. And then the last slide on my side of things, I wanted to just provide a few takeaway items outside of just our tool that you could use basically starting immediately if community engagement is something on your radar, which I have a feeling for most community managers it is. Few things from every match that we've put together that we have found to be helpful. First off, 3 touch points minimum for inviting people to events, to our match rounds, to anything that you want them to really participate in. The other thing that we'll note here is range those touch points over a few different avenues of communication. If it's email, if it's Slack, if it's Discord, whatever community platform that you're using, vary that up and do it over a few different times of day, so that if you have different time zones involved, or potentially people who might be a little bit better at checking in the morning or the afternoon, vary that up. And then in all of your touch points that you're sending out for hoping to get people to engage, include value stats. So we just spoke about some of our numbers. We recommend sharing things like that of why engagement is also going to benefit them. I think this is something that we've found a lot, is we can overestimate how much community members understand the benefit, what they're getting out of engagement. So putting together things that remind them why it's so great and what other people are in the community are saying, always a good idea. Last side of things, again, I mentioned this before, but quality over quantity. Number of introductions probably doesn't matter as much as how much they get out of them and how impactful those matches or networking connections or events or speakers, like the quality is everything on this. Like Blake said, there are, who knows, a couple million digital events happening a day. And if you really want to hold their attention, it is not about the quantity of events. It's definitely around what they're getting out of it, how it impacts them, especially in the short term. And then the last side of things, and this is a big one for us, is scheduling is key. Some of the data we've put in behind either creating connections or networking events, even, teasing something that might happen in the future. The biggest thing to have tied to that is a calendar or an invite on the calendar, something really putting aside time for your members to understand what they're going to invest in that time-wise, as well as just having it incorporated into their day where they can schedule around it. We see about 70% higher chance of successful engagement when there's a calendar invite involved. So that is us in terms of some takeaway from Orbit. I'm going to stop sharing and pop back to you guys.
Helps to be off mute. I don't know. Like I'm like 3 years into like.
I stunned them into silence. Wow.
No, it's always the mute. Always the mute thing. How are we like so far into virtual events and I still forget to unmute? But yeah. So Ilka, I've seen this tool a million times. Any thoughts on your side? What jumps out to you?
Well, definitely. It really actually makes me really, really happy to see more efforts, more startups, more organizations, and more professionals really focusing on engagement and, of course, quality engagement and tracking down engagement, because it is right in the center of what we do in community management. So therefore, just having the tools, having an understanding, and of course, having the visibility through platforms like Orbit that is provided to the professionals is just golden to see, because the more we understand the engagement, the more we understand the community, the better we can actually give it some direction.
Exactly.
And Sammy, you had like one amazing like success story, right? About like two people that had like gone through life but hadn't met, and then finally.
I love this. So when I first joined, one of the first testimonials I saw was from two people we had introduced who worked in the same building in New York for about 6 years, lived on the same street in Brooklyn, I think both of their partners went to the same college. Like, it was something where there were about 80 places where they could have met previously, and somehow our tool brought them together. And the ending of the testimonial just said ... I mean, it's a little scary how well this worked and brought us together, but it's shocking that there are people in the community that you just think you'd know from all of these things, and having something just serendipitously bring people together and make those connections actually happen, I think can really impact their experience, your experience, their ability to refer people in, and really just kind of amplify each connection. From one good connection can really create a pretty big ripple effect.
Yeah, it's kind of like the communities. You have like so many people that sign up and all these like connections, but if they're loose connections, people aren't like connecting with each other. It's like you get into that where people are doing like short-term hacks without the foundation to build, and we're always trying to build like closer ties for the community. And one question here on the tool, are you seeing this take off within any specific industries like school, developer relations, entertainment, cricket, music, where hip hop? Are you seeing any types of industries where this tool is really taking off for y'all so far?
What's interesting is with every community, if two people couldn't sit down and have a conversation with each other, it's probably not really a community. It might be either more of a mailing list or, something along those lines. So I don't want to say no, because we do, and we're, focused a little bit more in the B2B space, some associations. We see a lot with like alumni groups coming together and, people who've gone through things. EdTech is one that we're really excited about as well, putting together cohorts as they go through certain learning experiences, either digital accelerators or actual, higher eds, having people on site for executive education or things like that. So if two people could sit down and talk, we will work with that community and we'll figure it out from there. But I do think there are a million different use cases. We're kind of a chameleon. If you think two people would be open to a conversation, it's worth us figuring out if we might be able to make that happen.
Nice. And so the tool can be found, I've got it in the chat, orbit.ai. That's ORBII. There's two I's. They wave at each other, according to Sammy. .ai. And one other opportunity, the thing that I got involved with Orbit, is you also do like these free meetups. So as community professionals, we can actually test out the tool. So I've met like Katie Ray, who I've like talked to in passing, but through Orbit, it actually connected me with Katie. So I was like, this tool's perfect. So you've got kind of an ongoing networking series. So how can community professionals take advantage of that?
Yeah, we call that our community in orbit. I know, incredibly creative on our end, but we do use our tool monthly to connect community builders. We are working on creating an actual application page for that. It has been a little bit in beta, but I appreciate the launch here. If anyone is interested, again, connect with me on LinkedIn, message me. I am happy to make sure that you have the invite for that. We'll actually be doing our next round. I think invites go out in about 7 days. So if anyone would like to take part in that, please let me know.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on, Sammy. And then when we get to our news portion of the community hour, we will invite you back up here.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thank you very much, Sammy.
Okay, Ilker, now we get to talk about one of our favorite topics, which is memes. And there's like history of memes. Memes aren't necessarily new, but we probably have one of the best original content creators for memes about to join us. And it's really exciting. I'll do a quick tease. This is some of their work that they've done out there. We'll put a link to the stuff that they're doing. So if you're looking for inspiration, a lot of people are doing like secondhand memes or just resharing other stuff, but it's a whole other level when we get our next guest, Marissa Book, when you're creating like original videos and graphics and things like that. So let's get the reigning queen of memes on planet Earth, #1 in the world today, up to the stage, Marissa Book.
Yay! Hello.
Oh wow! Thank you for that. Quite the introduction.
How's it going, Marissa? Tell people a little bit about you.
Sure. How's it going? Like in general, I just moved into a new apartment literally last night. So unfortunately, I'm literally doing this from my bed because I don't have any other furniture. But other than that, it's going okay. We're kind of, life is a little chaotic right now, but we're thriving.
Where did you move to and from, just so people have that context?
Yeah. I moved from Boston to LA.
That's amazing.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, a cross-country trip. That is just fantastic. So how are you finding it so far?
I love it. It's really, it's such like an active lifestyle here. People are always like out doing things, like wanting to go hiking, wanting to go surfing. And I mean, I haven't really had too much of a chance to actually sightsee or anything like that yet, but I'm really excited about that. But I'm really enjoying it so far.
Man, that's like an amazing, I thought like just moving from like North Carolina to Vegas, like Boston to LA is absolutely insane. And you just flew, you didn't do like the whole moving truck, right?
No, but I have my car just got picked up yesterday. So that's doing the whole cross country thing.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And then for your job today, tell people a little bit about it. And then where did you start to get into memes and work your way into that? Like a lot of people want to do it. They just don't even know how to get started. And you're just like so far ahead of all of us.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. Well, so I'm the marketing manager for Strata, an AI tool that helps you strengthen your professional network. And part of our marketing strategy is making really funny memes and short videos about work. You can check us out on Instagram, strata.cc. And I started back in December, and it was just hearing about the marketing strategy using memes was really interesting to me because I don't personally know of any other company really doing that, especially in the way that we're doing that. And I think it's so powerful because, you don't expect to see Kim Kardashian, in the context of a boring meeting, but we're using more pop culture memes and we're bringing back classic movies in the context of work situations. For example, we, one of our most successful memes was a Breakfast Club meme where it was like if the Breakfast Club created a startup and each character was a different like one character was the engineer, one character was design, and it just really resonated with people. And there's so many relatable experiences that we can convey through memes, and beyond just being funny and um beyond just being funny, the memes also do serve a purpose for us in terms of our brand and awareness building, because like I said, we're helping our users be more authentic and thoughtful with people in their network. So we not only make these memes to promote our brand, and to share on social, but to actually give our users memes that they can then send to their network. So really, we're not just a software. We're personable, and we help our users be more personable. And we really want to represent our brand in the same way, with that same relatability and personality. So yeah, again, feel free to check us out, strata.cc on Instagram.
Yeah, I got a link to it dropped into the chat so everybody can check out that amazing Instagram page. Ilker.
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. It's just one question I've been dying to ask Marissa. So Blake and I, as you may imagine, because we may be, that kind of inclined people, we love memes. And of course, we actually, have great fun in, just looking at them, just, sort of absorbing them, reading them, finding them. But also we just treat them very, very seriously, because it's a method of communication, and it's a layer within developer communities anyway. This is something that we have in common with Blake. And this is something that we were very passionate about, and we really believed that memes are, they should be actually used, and they should be considered as a certain method, a certain flavor, a certain, a dimension of a community, be it a developer or not. So what are your thoughts about any community manager, leader who's actually thinking about incorporating memes in their own community, and they just want to use it just right, so that it's not going overboard, but the place is not also boring? It's a great tool to be used, but what are your thoughts, being so conversant with this kind of communication?
I think that's an amazing idea, because for especially community manager, memes really builds community and kind of like an inside joke with your members, which also builds trust and just all around friendliness. And just like, I think, yeah, that inside joke with people will really create a stronger community. So in terms of getting started on it, I use Canva. That's a great tool. If you're like, it can be difficult sometimes, like if you like find a meme that you like, and the class, I don't know if you guys know, like the girl, like the little girl in front of like the fire building, or the fire, and she's just like smiling like evilly. Like sometimes you have to be creative about it. Like if you're trying to find that image, and you have to just be like, fire girl smiling, and like if you're lucky, the meme will just come right up. Sometimes it can be a little more difficult. You have to do a little more digging, but it's also like important like to keep track of like those classic memes that you just see over and over again, but also pop culture ones. So like like the latest with the Oscars, Will Smith. He is like this huge meme now. And we personally didn't use it just because it's not like, we just like to be careful with like certain memes. We don't like to be like too controversial with our memes, just for our brand, but like staying up to date with like those types of pop culture, things are always good too. And like those would be easier to find. You can just like screenshot that and add it to Canva.
Nice. And then just in terms of your production, so you've got like your typical graphic, your static two-dimensional ones, but you also added in like video production. Is that just you creating these videos? Do you have a video team? When people see your video stuff, they're like, how in the world is Marissa pulling this stuff off? And then also, as a follow-up, then the channels you're using is Instagram and TikTok, right? And I guess Twitter too. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Yeah. Let me see what our TikTok is. I should know it off the top of my head, but it's either strata.cc or strata.cc. But in terms of video production team, it's all me.
Wow.
And yeah, we use Adobe Premiere primarily. We tried, we're a startup, so we're always experimenting with different things, and they had never really had a video person before. So we tried like different free tools to see if like that would be good. Like Canva has a video editing software, but like hated it. Like great for memes and stuff, but not for videos. So yeah, we use Adobe Premiere Pro, or I say we, but primarily me. And it's a subscription service, so I think it's like $20 a month.
Right.
But yeah, I have that. We just invested in a green screen, which was really exciting. And that's pretty much it. Just good acting, and good editing. And I'm always in communication with my boss. So I'll send him like rough draft, and he'll be like, oh, I like this, but tweak this. And we just kind of do that back and forth a few times. I mean, sometimes it can be a lot more than a few times, but we just are in constant communication until I can edit it and create something that we're both satisfied with.
Wow. And what is it like what does a meme campaign look like? So you've got all these ideas. What is that kind of, do you just sort of like start putting it on, planning it into like a meme marketing campaign? What does that look like?
Do you mean like a video or a meme?
So you get an idea, and then where does that idea go to put it into like a workflow or a process? So like which Friday or where I'm actually going to go out and execute it, and when I'm actually going to like post it out to the world.
Yeah. Well, we have like a shared document where we all just kind of like write random ideas that probably would not make sense to the average person. It's just like just the most random sentences and phrases. But we'll talk about it and we'll discuss the idea. And if we like it, we will just start to brainstorm and kind of workshop that. We have like designated days, and we try to do it once a week for brainstorming and actually like creating a script. So I'd say that's a big thing for me because I'm fairly new to the startup world, so sometimes I don't always have like the correct vocabulary or correct ideas. Like I have the right idea, but I just need help like executing it. So my bosses are awesome. They're super experienced within the startup world, so they are very helpful in helping me like polish it and stuff. So I work with them in creating the script, and then I kind of just film it, edit it, and in terms of posting it, we try to. Ideally, we'd like to do like one original video a week, but I will say creating videos are extremely time consuming. So we're a startup, so we're experimenting like if that's going to be our best one, or if we're going to do like every other week, just to like really see what's working best with us.
Nice. And one thing you left out is you're usually the star of most of these. So not only are you like the director, you're like the director, producer, writer, and also the actor, actress in them.
Yeah, well, that's why I moved out to LA for acting, separate from the startup. But I've had my background in acting since I could remember, since I was really little, and I can't even remember. But I've always loved performing and just embarrassing myself on the internet. But it's funny. That's actually how part of the reason why I got the job. I think looking back on it now, they found like, I think they saw my personal TikTok or my personal YouTube or something, and it's like definitely not like work appropriate. So like I'm even surprised that they like hired me from that, but like they really liked the personality that they saw and the idea execution. So yeah.
Wow. So your book is like from meme to corporate meme job to Hollywood meme star. Nice.
Kind of.
Fantastic. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we are definitely in awe of the genuine the genuine Marissa that we actually see. So I think this is a great message to all the community members, or of course anybody who's watching from the industry. It's a great way to communicate, and this was the thing that I was going to ask. If you have any tips and tricks about using social media, which people see it a little bit unlikely, a little bit distant to the community management, the community building. So you're actually bringing in a breath of fresh air on that context. So and just people have to be very genuine, very let's say open to using these platforms, which are usually otherwise considered as, let's say, personal, sometimes a little bit too one-dimensional, but you're just bringing it to a whole different level. So if we want to use social media ourselves, such as TikTok or Instagram, these sort of short time limited messages to deliver community style messages, so to speak, do you have any recommendations for us to follow to start doing that?
In terms of like how to get started with memes.
It's more also, how to get started with, using platforms such as social media, such as TikTok, to deliver the messages that you want to deliver. For example, about memes and other things that you're working on as a community professional.
Okay, so just so I understand like fully, so just like using social media to convey what you want your brand to be.
Yeah, also using social media as a community manager, because this is something that I really see you doing so well. So this is another thing that people might take away from this conversation.
Yeah, I think it's really about cultivating your following and building a trust with your followers, which sounds like kind of like cheesy, but um, I really do mean that. Like being grateful for the people that follow you, whether that's 5 or 100 or 10,000. When people comment on your post, like their comment and respond to their comment, like that's so exciting that like the creator of this account is commenting. Like, and yeah, build that trust with your community. You can even get feedback from your community. There's different ways to do it on TikTok and Instagram. Like Instagram, you can do polls and stuff, and TikTok, there's always like they're always coming up with new updates for like responding. You can respond to comments with a video, or there's probably more. I haven't had a chance to really experiment, but yeah, that's another thing. You have to dedicate time to like keeping up with the latest updates, especially on TikTok, which is so new. They're always coming up with like new trends and new things to like try out in your videos. So dedicating time to that, which I mean, it's fun. Like you just get to like sit and watch videos for like 10 minutes or a day or something, or find something that works for you. But just like I think being authentic for one and consistent with your brand. So, use even something as simple as like using the same font throughout your videos, throughout your memes. That goes a long way. And we have a very like humorous type what's the word? The way I can't think of this word, but like our tone is very like humorous and upbeat. And so, we try to everything we post is like that. We don't really ever post serious stuff. I mean, you can work it into your brand if you want to like experiment with both, but just find something that works for you and stay consistent with it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marissa, for being on with us today. And you can stick around. We're going to do a news portion. So we'll just get our other guests to join us. We'll talk about all the community news going on. So we can all go around, talk about the news, things like that. So it's kind of the fun portion. We can all engage into the news going on. We're also bring up our mystery guest for today to the stage as well. So our mystery guest will give you one clue who it's going to be. We'll do the news, and then we'll end the show with me and Ilker talking to our mystery guest. So we'll give you one clue of who the mystery guest could be.
Me? Oh.
And so we will bring everyone back up and we'll start talking about some community news that we have going on in the world today. So our mystery guest for the first show is Mr. James Parton, the co-author of the Developer Relations book, an amazing resource and framework. So James, thanks for joining us today. Let's jump straight into the news. So one of the big events going down next week is this new Community Leaders Institute conference. They've got like David Spinks, Richard Millington is going to be there from Feverbee. You've got Ashley Friedland from the E-Consultancy and Guild. You've got Marjorie Anderson, founder of Community by Association. You've got Be the Stage and Be the Stage. This is going down live and in person next week in Memphis. They're going to be having all sorts of panels and discussions like member engagement, community growth, measurement, curating content, data, measuring data, DE&I into community practices, sustainable communities, cultivating and empowering advocates, state of community, I don't see anything on Web3 or NFTs, so probably nothing like that's going on there. But anyone on our panel here going to this in Memphis? No?
Unfortunately not.
All right.
Not gonna be. We had a couple overlapping maternity paternity leaves, and it was just not going to be good timing on our end, unfortunately.
Nice. But it looks really amazing, but it's just really great to see kind of like the in-person stuff kicking back off again. So that's pretty amazing. And then just on the theme of gratitude, one of just kind of like the Stephen Bartlett had this amazing tweet. Don't know if you saw it, but it says, "Stop telling yourself you're not qualified, not worthy, or not experienced enough. Growth happens when you start doing the things you're not qualified to do." And it feels like as community professionals, like hardly, for me, it's like I don't run into other people who said, this is the career I always dreamed of. So we just all came into it from different ways. So I just thought that was pretty interesting because it really resonated with me in the world of community. And
Yeah.
And Matt Meckham has put up a tweet. Says there are two types of people. Everything is a community. And then the other type of person is nothing is a community.
I'm team number one, I think.
Nice. And then Evan Hamilton, speaking of gratitude, had asked on Twitter, who are some unsung leaders in community, like not thought leaders, but those who are doing amazing work leading community teams or departments? So do any of you here have any unsung leaders that resonate with yourselves in the world of community?
I would say you guys. Like, no one else has reached out to me in the ways that you guys have reached out to me, just with the community here. So yeah, thank you for having me on today and just being so supportive of my memes.
Nice. And then Sammy, anyone for you?
I'll throw a name out there. She might kill me for this, but someone I've been working with recently, Helen from who was previously with Notch, Helen Coop, is wonderful and just one of those people. Every time I have a conversation with her, wonderful wealth of knowledge, and I know she might be looking for a new opportunity after some stuff. So if anyone's looking for amazing community people, I'm gonna go with Helen.
Nice. We'll definitely be sure to amplify that out as well. And then James, any unsung heroes in the world of community for you?
I guess, well, why don't I guess we always tend to think about online community and digital stuff, but there's one of the things I'm involved in is a co-working space in Cambridge in the UK. And obviously, trying to run a co-working space during lockdown and COVID was pretty challenging, should we say, and pretty soul destroying, from a kind of a morale perspective of the team, seeing their community just kind of fall apart overnight. But the team at the Bradfield Centre, so Mark, Lil and Claire, have just been so amazing, so dedicated, so enthusiastic, never let their kind of enthusiasm drop. And we've seen a bounce back now. In the space of 4 months, we've now got 100% occupancy back in the building. It's just incredible. And the buzz is back and it's just so fantastic to see. So, yeah, it's an actual physical community and kind of bringing people together face to face. It's been absolutely amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, the real life ones, not just digital, are great too. Ilker, what about you?
Well, I sort of replied to Evan's tweet over there, but I'm just going to continue the same theme with James. So basically, I used to work at Google leading their developer communities in Turkey, Central Asia, and Caucasus. And I used to work with Merve Işler at the time. And the reason why I'm obviously citing these names is because I was actually working with them to do the transition when the pandemic hit. So we're talking about the early days of 2020 and the first few months. So where we just, had to sit down and, have a great plan to try and transition our communities. They were all shocked by the pandemic and they didn't know what to do. So Merve just, did an amazing job just transitioning, especially the developer student clubs and growing them maybe like over tenfold. And Beza is another person in the team locally over here, who's actually taken over what I used to do when I moved to become an independent consultant. The reason why I'm, telling their names is because obviously these people, maybe a little bit different from us, they actually started their careers as community managers. So maybe that's the significance of their arrival, and that's the significance of their impact. So many of us have actually stumbled into community management from something else. I haven't seen any exceptions yet, especially over a certain, let's say, experience and age. But it really is always, it really fills me with gratitude, which is the theme of today, when I see young people selecting community management as a career path, and then basically start delivering impact, and then just to start working with their communities all around the world. And a few other people, and I'm going to be talking about the a fellow Brit whom I met in Valencia of all places, Mr. Tom Norman. He is in actually on the thread over there with Evan. So he's a great gentleman, and I believe that we're going to be hearing about him, much more. And of course, my dear co-host from CMX Connect Istanbul, Özgen Ceren. They're amazing people. So lots of hope, lots of gratitude from all levels, all ages, all experiences in the community world, which is great.
Nice. And then for me, it's with Rachel Happ, who was one of the founders of Community Roundtable. So just kind of like back in the day in the 2000s decade, like we didn't have all these orgs like CMX and Community Club and all these things then. So we had like in-person conferences like South by and South by Southwest, right? South by Southwest had like different things, film, music, and interactive. And it's kind of crazy when I first started at South by Southwest Interactive, like the whole conference of people could fit into one conference room, right? And now it's like they can't even, like Austin's like too full of them. People are staying in San Antonio and surrounding towns, but going out there was like once a year you got to actually meet like-minded professionals. So when Rachel came on the scene, not only did they help get Community Roundtable off the ground, they're one of the first sharing like frameworks, like here's some actual frameworks you can use and putting order into this chaos. So then it's like you had stuff that you were doing or trying out, but really putting this almost like open source kind of community frameworks and tactics and workflows and processes. So just Rachel and everyone there at Community Roundtable was like so instrumental for me, like in the early days when people came to me, and said like, how do I get into community or what should I know? I was like, just follow Rachel, go to Community Roundtable, do them. And it was kind of funny. I was talking to somebody from HP at South by Southwest Interactive, and I was telling them like, yeah, just go to Rachel, that stuff like that. And then there's a voice behind us like, well, I'm Rachel. And so that was like the first time like meeting them like in person. But it was just like sometimes the best advice, it's like for me, it's like, don't follow me. Here's the other people you should really know based on what you're doing. So that was just kind of an amazing one for me. And then just kind of moving on, I had some other ones. So I Am Developer had a really funny one. So joining a Zoom call. Okay, time to cosplay as a person who says okie dokie. So that's always the fun on Zoom calls, or just, never a dull moment there. And let's see. And then Ryan Smith has this interesting quote: the best antidote I know for worry is work. The best medicine for despair is service. The best cure for weariness is the challenge of helping someone who is even more tired. So I just like the selfless aspect of community where we have strangers, people we don't know, but we just feel that call to help them out, do what we can for things like that. And just two other quick notes going around the world of community. Richard Millington has an amazing blog post up on how to get experts to contribute to your community. So we're seeing a little bit of subject matter expertise around content creation that's going on out there. How do we engage them? How do we keep that pipeline going? Richard Millington has an amazing blog post going on with that. And then just kind of lastly, I almost raced past it, but just a quick note that as all of us know on the CMX side, that last Friday was David Spink's last day at CMX. So David Spinks is out there. So that's kind of interesting. So any other news, notes, or events before we segue into our mystery guest, James? So just feel free to speak or forever hold your peace. Any other like news updates or tweets you want to spike out to the panel?
No, I'll just say again, in case anyone's just joining and missed my first section, if you guys do want to do our community in orbit, which is we're using our tool to match people, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Would love to get you in our network and meeting other community builders. So I'll just say that.
Very good, very good, very good. Never a dull moment here. But yeah, so thanks, Sammy, for being on. We're about to get to our last segment where we'll be talking directly with James. But thanks, Sammy, for being on. Any final thoughts from you, Marissa?
I'll just kind of like second what Sammy said. Thank you all for having us and everything. And especially, when you were like, oh, can you shout out a special community member? I really did mean you guys, like, really just for making me feel so special in CMX and always just make me feel appreciated with memes and stuff. So yeah, thank you for that. And if you're interested in trying Strata, we're doing 1 month free right now if you use my code. So connect with me on LinkedIn, Marissa Book, find me, Marissa Strata. Definitely would love to look forward to connecting, or feel free to just follow our Instagram for some funny memes, or TikTok too.
Yeah, really nice. And I think for just Sammy, just having a tool to build those stronger connections, definitely look at it. So your virtual event game, keep it going strong, find ways. So the orbit with the 2 waving eyes, definitely check out. Marissa is doing some of the hardest stuff. So many teams now, some of the most seasoned professionals have no idea to do what you're doing. It's very complex, not easy stuff to do. Like getting an idea is like easy. You're actually executing on it, things like that. So just doing amazing work that's inspiring all of us at different levels. And people with decades of experience are like, oh my God, how is Marissa doing this? So don't beat yourself up too much. And we wish you luck on your career. Maybe this time next year, we'll see you on the Oscars or Golden Globes or Indie Awards, things like that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Marissa.
All right. And then bringing up our main guest, James. He has this amazing book, The Developer Relations. And so we're just seeing like so many people get into the world of developer relations. And like on the community side, we get people coming in. They're like, oh my God, I don't know what I don't know. And they start feeling like imposter syndrome. And where can I go for stuff like that? And just 100%, like if you are in developer relations, get this book. Stop what you're doing now. Don't do anything else today. Ignore all your Zoom calls and any dates you have going on today. Cancel all your dates. Cancel your wedding. Go out today. Buy this book, Developer Relations, from James and Caroline today. It's an amazing starting point. Block out the rest of your week. Give yourself a developer relations vacation. Go to Hawaii. Go to Cambridge. Go somewhere. But whatever you're doing, get this book. And if you're a community professional, not in developer relations, right? The frameworks and so much will also apply to you. So don't think it just because it says developer, I can't use it. So there's stuff there. So everybody go freaking get this book. That's my advice. James, just great to have you here today as our first mystery guest and just kind of setting the stage for you. So tell people a little bit about yourself, how you got into this world, and a little bit about the book, Developer Relations.
Well, thank you for that. That was pretty. I'm speechless after that. How did I end up here? That's a really good question. I spent about 20 years in product management and like various innovation roles inside telecoms companies. So kind of my job was to figure out the new products that our customers needed in their lives and then build and develop and release those. Having done that for a while, it was pretty obvious to me that our processes were fundamentally broken. We followed this kind of waterfall product development mentality where you'd go research with customers, they'd tell you what you want, you'd take 2 years to build it, you give it to them and they say, well, actually, I don't want that anymore. I want this other shiny thing over here. So this was back in the days where smartphones first started to come out and, Instagram and all these other services were completely outmaneuvering the kinds of products that we could build. So that led me to figure out, well, actually, we should stop trying to do this ourselves and we should work with developers and we should build developer communities and we should just open up our infrastructure and then build the tools and services that people want rather than we do it. So that really started me off in developer relations. So I built a developer program for O2, which is a mobile carrier in the UK. And then I moved on to do that globally for Telefonica, who are based in Spain. And then thankfully Twilio came along and plucked me from the misery of telco. So I don't, most people will probably know Twilio have been a very successful developer first kind of company. So they hired me as their first person outside the US to build their European business. So I did that for about 5 years and then just left after the IPO. And since then, I've just really had a blessed kind of portfolio career of doing a bunch of different things. DevRel, consulting with DevRel and writing the book with Carolyn. As I mentioned earlier, working with a co-working space in Cambridge to build physical community and work with the university in Cambridge. Just a real variety of different stuff. So I'm very lucky.
And then in just terms of like the frameworks and a lot of the stuff that you shared in the book, was this stuff you just had like on the side and just one day you're like, wait a minute, this is kind of like the open source spirit. Let me just take a lot of my learnings and then just form it with a book, find like the right partner. I don't know if it was you or Carolyn or where that originally came about. And we're just going to share this out with the world.
Yeah, well, so Carolyn should take the credit for having the idea. So Carolyn was, and still is, a very well-established consultant and has always worked in DevRel for like 20 plus years. Wow. Our paths crossed multiple times over those 20 years, working together in various different shapes and forms. And we both got to that kind of wizened old age position where we kind of felt, well, we know a ton of stuff. We should really start to try and get it out of our heads and share some of this, because the real motivation for the book was, even though DevRel has been around really since the mid 80s with things like, the Macintosh team in Apple, it still doesn't really get recognition as a discipline or a profession. It typically tends to get rolled up under the marketing team, or it gets rolled up under engineering. And we just felt like it's really past that point now where we should be as an industry and a community working to professionalize, standardize, and get the recognition that all of this hard work really deserves. So that was really, when we sat down and said, okay, we kind of like the idea of writing a book, but does the world need a book on developer relations? Really the motivation for the book was to try to help that move towards recognition. And if you've read even the back of the book, the whole point is to really make the argument that DevRel and representing the voice of developers should now be at the board level of every company, and there should be a developer relations officer alongside the CMO, the CTO, and everyone else in the organization, right? Yes,
for sure. Ilker.
Yeah, definitely. That's the side that is we're grateful, because today is a theme that we're most, because one of the things, everything that you've said, we can actually go ditto for community management as well.
Yeah.
Does the world need another book on community management? We now do. And maybe perhaps, we now do need books on community management in local arrangements or on Web3 or some new technologies. These are sort of desperate things. And DevRel is another thing that, came into the limelight very, very quickly and very, very abruptly, so to speak. So I just wanted to say thank you for actually putting a lot of emphasis on, putting relationships with stakeholders, how you can get them to accept our DevRel program, because you can actually substitute DevRel on some of the other things that we're working on, community management as well. So those tactics are quite useful in that regard as well. So if anyone hasn't come across the book, that's definitely something that they can take away, even if they're not initially interested into DevRel. But as we know, all companies are going to become software companies. They may already have become. So it looks like, DevRel, you just have to have. There's no escape really from what I see. But your book will be quite instrumental in getting that organized across. So thank you for that. That's what I wanted to say.
Thanks. That's very kind.
And then just in terms of the reactions of the book, since you've had it out today, is there any sort of amazing story, anecdotes, or just kind of moments since you've actually, it's always like you have it and then just putting it out into the world. So any interesting stories there?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it's a really weird thing to write a book. Both of us were first-time authors, so we didn't really know what the hell we were doing. And we did it through lockdown, so we never actually spent a minute writing the book together. It was all remote. So sometimes, you feel quite isolated, and you go through those highs and lows. You have weeks where you can't write a single word, and then you have weeks where it just flows out of you like a fire hose. So yeah, as you say, to work on something for 2 years and not know if it's any good, it's really quite daunting to then kind of release it to the world and just wait for people to tell you if it's crap or if it's great. So it's actually been really good, really really warming, to see the reaction to the book. I've tried to like and favorite as many of the comments as I can on our Twitter for the book and stuff like that, because there's just been such an amazing reaction to it. I think my favorite one was a book club that's been buying copies of the book and distributing it to people that can't get it because they're in regions of the world, where maybe Amazon don't ship to, or they're not in a situation where they can afford to buy the book. So that the community embracing it and actually enabling the community to get hold of it is just amazing. It's just really heartwarming.
And were you able to like we heard another story of with Simi talking about 2 different people that had been in their orbit but never had connected. Has this brought back any sort of ex-friends or people that have reached out to you since the book came out that you wouldn't otherwise have connected with?
Yeah, very much. I mean, in 2 ways. We were really conscious that this wasn't James and Carolyn's view of developer relations, right? Because it's not about us, it's not about our ego. It's really just trying to document a bunch of useful, helpful, hopefully, tools and ways to think about certain challenges, especially as you made the point about how you interact with senior management in a company, because you can be awesome at day-to-day developer relations or community, but if you take your eye off the ball of managing stakeholders and articulating the importance of your work back to people that don't have a clue of what you're doing, your program's going to get canned, right? And that's a big part of the book, is that strategic thinking. But yeah, so to make it sure it wasn't just our voices, we reconnected or connected with a bunch of people we've worked with over the last 20 years to get their input. And yeah, since it's come out, we've had a bunch of people reach out to us and just say, amazing, love it, knew you might do something like this kind of thing, and to your theme of being grateful, just wanted to give a shout out to Phil Legater. I'm sure Phil was an amazing technical editor for us, and he saw all of the early horrible drafts of all the chapters and helped knock it into shape. So Phil was an absolute superstar. So just want to make sure he gets some recognition here as well.
Nice. And then what are some of the projects that you and Carolyn are working on spawning off the back of the book?
Yeah, I mean, again, another thing that we didn't really think about is I certainly didn't appreciate that different people have different styles of learning. So we have had a few people reach out to us and say, well, books are great, but I actually don't find books the best way to learn, for a variety of reasons. So this led us down a path of thinking about, well, how can we, not only you repackage some of the content in the book, but actually bring some new content alongside that. So we've been working now, on a online training course, which we've been working on now for about 4 months. It's going slower than we'd hoped because we're trying to balance it alongside everything else that we have to do. And it's been an interesting learning experience because Carolyn's a natural. She's just such a natural trainer. And I suck. I'm terrible. So it's been dragging me out of my comfort zone, and it's a bit kind of seeing Carolyn's modules compared to mine. It's kind of embarrassing, but we've been working on it for 4 months, and we're hopeful we're getting to that stage now where we will be able to open it up as a bit of a beta to let a few people in. So if anyone's interested in helping us test run that content, please reach out. We'd love to have you part of that little trial. And then the second thing is 2 things really caught fire very quickly from the book in terms of people adopting them. One was the terminology around developer first and developer plus companies, which helps to describe the organization context that you're operating within, which is so important because that frames everything that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Theoretically, a developer-first company is easier to work inside because the company only sells products designed for developers. So you would hope that kind of the DNA of community and developer permeates through that organization. It doesn't always, but it kind of should. Whereas a developer plus company is a company that does other things, and developer relations or the desire to work with developers and build community is an additional thing that they do. So, for example, Santander or Ford Motor Company, or even Apple to some degree. You could argue Apple's a hardware company, not a developer company, right? So that's not to say it's impossible to be successful with developer relations. Obviously, Apple are hugely successful, but lots of companies, more traditional industries in particular, really struggle to understand developer relations because it's so alien to what they do. So it can be much harder for a developer relations or community professional to operate inside those kinds of organizations. So that caught very quickly. The second thing was the developer journey. So we kind of have this tool which maps out all the different touch points and the stages a developer goes through as you try to move them from initial discovery to like scaling with your technology. So it's quite complex, like 42 different touch points and 5 stages. So we're turning that right now into an interactive tool. So you can go online, create your own journey, customize it, save it, print it, share it, all those kinds of things. So we just done that in reaction to the kind of how well that's been received, and obviously we'll make that available as a free of charge tool for anyone to use and hopefully make better.
Nice. And we do have a link in the chat for the discount for the book. So thanks for that, James. I've got 2 more questions on my side. Ilker, any more questions on your side?
I'm just listening with with great gratitude on that context, because any awareness, any insight, or any inroads into the murky world of developer relations and just understanding that is just golden. I mean, we see the importance of developer relations day in, day out, just increased across the world, across in Europe as well. There's a lot of work going on. Of course, James is in the UK, and it makes me proud because I spent 10 years in the UK, and I am really happy that a lot of thought leaders are coming from the UK, like Richard, like Jono. And now, of course, with this book, we just have some more, let's say, ammunition, so to speak, to try and understand the world of community management, developer relations, the difference and the similarities in the relationships between. So it's great to see. Of course, new tools are being provided as per James's comments on here.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things we joked about when we wrote the book is if you're struggling to describe to your senior management what you're doing and why it's important, buy them a copy of the book and drop it on the desk, because it's written in a way that a non-technical person can read it, right? In some ways, it's the ammunition to try and achieve what you want to achieve internally. We knew that we couldn't write a book that was really deep in the weeds of the tactical side of DevRel, because obviously best practice on the tactical side changes every 6 months. So the book would be instantly out of date. So whilst we do cover a lot of the tactical side, it's very much more the strategic side and the relationships with management and getting stakeholder engagement and air cover. So you don't find yourself in some of the situations I found myself in my career where my program gets closed down.
Yeah, very cool. And back when I was at Texas Instruments, back in the day, one of the tactics we did, and I hadn't even thought about it since then, but you brought it up. It's we got a copy of the Charlene Lee, and I forget the other co-authors, but Groundswell. Let's get it out, and every stakeholder, everybody that we're working on DAS. So when you went around, it's what is this green covered book, right? And then it was Richard Millington's Buzzing with Community. So that's kind of a really amazing tactic today, because now it's we've got ebooks, much more standard to give out. So if you got people on the team, not just with what your efforts, give them a copy of the book. That's such a brilliant idea. And then just 2 quick questions on my side. So one, it's a common thing we hear in community management is just that imposter syndrome. So we're really skilled professionals, different stage of where we're coming into it. But then you get there day one, and that first 30, 60, 90, there's that doubt starts to creep in. And so when I get into developer relations, there's like, I know all this stuff, but there's a little bit of just that imposter syndrome. So it's a little bit of like the DevRel therapist or the DevRel whisper. So do you have like, just if someone's watching here today or on replay and they're like, James, I just got into this job. I know that I have all the skills, communications. I'm just feeling a little bit maybe overwhelmed or like maybe just this imposter syndrome. So is there like 1 or 2 tips like you could give me that would help me get over this blocker?
Yeah, and I think that's especially relevant when you talk about DevRel because it's such a broad surface area. You're doing a little bit of marketing, you're doing a little bit of sales, you're doing a little bit of technical, coding and all that kind of stuff, content production. It really is one of these Swiss Army knife jobs. And I think in the early stages of a program, you tend to hire these mythical generalists that are good at everything, but it's really, really rare to find someone that truly is good at everything. So I think you need to have either work with someone that can give you some feedback on identifying your strengths, and then just work towards, your perceived weaknesses or gaps. So, for example, if you come from a marketing background and you're confident with like the communication and community building style of things, but you're say weaker on writing technical tutorials or tech docs and stuff like that, try to find a technical coach or a buddy that can help you sharpen up your technical skills, and vice versa. If you're coming from a coding technology background but want to learn more about marketing, try and buddy yourself up or shadow a marketing colleague or a friend in the industry. That would probably be the route I go. And also, the great thing about our industry is there's so many opportunities to volunteer and get involved in side hustle projects, open source communities. Even if you're not technical at all and you just want to go out to a meetup and help organize, just lay the tables out, put the pizzas out, help with the organization of ticketing and giving out swag. These aren't trivial things. It's showing that you've got that passion and that engagement. You want to meet people. It's going to give you a platform to build your personal brand. There's loads of opportunities to just kind of get out there, build exposure, build up strengthen your existing skills and also learn new ones, right? And then over time you're gonna look like a pretty solid candidate and hope. But I've done this for 25 years. I still have imposter syndrome. So there's no silver bullet by doing one thing is going to stop you feeling like you don't belong, or am I good enough, or do I have all the skills? I think we all suffer with that. So I don't know if that's reassuring, but you're not alone in that feeling.
Yeah, that's definitely great. And then just the last question for you both. So here we are in 2022. And the world's starting to open back up, depending on where you are. In-person trade shows and developer relationships is so big and huge. It's almost runs counter to a lot of people that outside are like, wait a minute, everybody's so introverted here. How in the world are like in-person trade shows like so big? But it's a vital part of life. But just kind of more macro, as that faucet turns on, in-person starts to come roaring back. Hopefully, we'll probably see these waves of stuff and things like that for sure. But as we're starting to get midway into 2022 and looking ahead to 2023, what are you seeing now as like, if we said James, Ilker, what are the developer relation trends that you're seeing sort of emerge, jump out? Any thoughts on the state of that for 2022 and as we're looking ahead to next year in 2023?
Yeah, do you want to go first?
Yeah, James, go first, please. Yeah, thanks.
I think there's no doubt that COVID definitely drove a trend towards developer education as being the primary route into the community, if you like. Whereas, previously it would have been probably evangelists or advocates going into the field, typically to events, meetups, etc. I think there's a couple of ways to think about that. One answer would be down to metrics. I think if you can achieve the kind of targets you have in terms of new customer acquisition, driving revenue, building new community. If you can do that predominantly driven by online content marketing and community building, then it's going to be harder to justify the kinds of checks that used to get written to go to large conferences and trade shows, etc., because it's obviously way less disruptive on the organization, and it's much more measurable in terms of some of those benefits you can get back. But I think as community professionals, we would always advocate for the return to face-to-face, right? Nothing beats being in a room with someone, building a personal relationship, that spontaneity of conversation, those magical moments where you just bump into people that you were never planning to meet and something amazing happens off the back of it. You know, friendships are made for life off the back of the industry and the events that we go to. So I think there's no question that there will be a return, and it will come back strongly. As I mentioned, just in Cambridge, in the co-working space I work in, it only took 4 months, you know, to completely fill back up and not get back to normal as such, but very close to that, right? You know, we support all the local technical meetup groups, and they're all coming back, right? So, you know, I think we will see that return, and I think people, whilst there's a place for online and hybrid, I think you'll start to see maybe a clearer delineation between online events and offline events, and maybe less of this trying to make it work for an online audience with a real, you know, in-person audience, because it's just so clumsy and it doesn't give a good experience for anyone really, you know. So, you know, whilst I think we've learned some good things from the lockdown, I think there will be a return back to the best of both.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments in the sense that it's not a new normal. It's just a new, you know, it's not, you know, actually we can sort of cancel the word normal. It just has to evolve. You know, as the old Latin proverb says, you know, everything changes and we change with it. So basically, right now we are just seeing a new understanding of work, a new understanding of companies and everything. So in terms of the in-person events, it looks like they're now actually the stones are actually falling in their place right now, and people are now figuring out or basically redrawing the boundaries of the events. Perhaps some of the things that we're experiencing now, they were meant to be in this way. So now people are choosing to go to the office or choosing to, let's say, attend an event and so forth. So basically, it's a culture change in events, in the composition of the events, and the experience anyone just coming in to an event. And this was no more important than the developer world. You know, I remember vividly going to Google's I/O conference in 2019 of all years, just a year before everything sort of changed. And you know, I remember Google just pulling out all the stops and making that event such a memorable experience. And it was just, you know, something that you would remember for the rest of your lives. It was my first experience. And of course, all the big companies and all the big developer events or non-developer events are now designed in that way. So
Yeah.
perhaps that experience is now going to be the center stage. So people are going to be going to try really hard to deliver something interesting, something really cool, where people are inclined to get together and then share a lot of things. So I'm sharing the James sentiment there. Face to face, in person, nothing actually beats that. Just on the opportunity of opening up to the person next to you, and then basically being able to discuss or disclose what you're working on, so that you can actually get together and then just, you know, do things. And in terms of the developer relations, I see it taking center stage, just like community management. There's a lot of words now. You know, anybody watching this might actually hear things like community-led development or, you know, community-led companies and so forth. So now, of course, you have companies that are being developed by communities of, let's say, brand aficionados, communities of customers. You know, the company is just sort of, it looks like they're sort of sitting back. Actually, they're not. They're just, you know, preparing the environment for that. But they're just letting the customers actually dictate the direction that the company is getting. So this is going to be very, very crude, but I think developers are doing the same thing for the company. So you just have a developer-led product development or a company development or a service development in a way. So now, of course, especially with guidance from books such as James and Carlin's, certainly the companies, they have now an understanding. They now know how to place, how to position, and how to motivate the developers in getting a great value of their presence in that ecosystem. So that is now being understood, and this is the change that I am seeing in the world.
Yeah, I think you totally nailed that. I think what we're seeing again in the co-working space is if people are only coming in, say, 2 or 3 days a week now, rather than headphones on and head down coding all day long, they're using those days in the office to spend much more time just socializing with their colleagues and making it more of an event rather than just that previous 9 to 5 being in the office, being a grind. They're actually really savoring that opportunity to be with friends and co-workers. And the same with events. I think for those of us that were lucky enough to do the event circuit prior to lockdown, maybe we got a bit jaded and a bit burnt out by the whole thing. So to have that taken away from you for 2 years, it's actually really exciting to go back to an event now, and you're actually really grateful for the opportunity to be able to do those kinds of things. And for the newer people coming into the industry, they've got that to look forward to, right? And as you say, events are going to adapt and make that much more of a social experience. So yeah, it's like everything. I think people have a short-term memory. I think we'll recover very quickly. And obviously we need to be mindful of each other's health, and we need to take that stuff seriously. But I think we're resilient, as a race, as a species. So I think we're going to get back to things pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think one interesting note, like KubeCon has it where they've got a color-coded like bracelet type deal. And so as you're going to events, just keep in mind the bracelets, because like people are at different levels. Some people want the virtual elbows, or maybe like, hey, they're not ready yet to hug it out or to do the virtual elbow. So a lot of events now are having like the bracelets or different types of ways. So we're still like in this gray area. So don't just run up and hug somebody, things like that. Just know what those kind of things are. Not everybody's ready to elbow and hug, but a lot of the in-person stuff I've been to, it's some of the best hugs in my life. And now people we're valuing, like James, like you said, the FaceTime. There's so many moments that we missed out of over the years. Like in person on Zoom is one way, but just hanging out in person just has so much of a different thing. When you can get people to put down their smartphones, right? It's like, and I see all these groups out hanging out, but on their smartphones or doing smartphones. But hopefully some of this that people realize hey, wait a minute, I'm sitting across from James. Let's have a conversation. But I'm seeing that in some pockets, which gives me hope of people taking their smartphones, putting it down, having these amazing conversations, catching it up, and just a renewed passion for people. So that's great. And James, just any final thoughts? It was so amazing to have you here as our guest today. James Parton, co-author with Carolyn of the book Developer Relations. Go check it out. So James, any final thoughts from you?
No, I think we've covered everything. If anyone's listening, feel free to reach out. We're both super friendly people. We're keen to talk to anyone that's got any questions or any suggestions. All of the tools in the book have been made available under Creative Commons licenses. So just take them, make them better. As I said, we were super conscious not to try to put this out there as this is the guide to developer relations, because we're not that arrogant. We just want to start the movement towards something that hopefully people can take and run with and make it better than we've done. So I'll just encourage people to get involved and help out.
All right. Well, James, thanks so much for coming on. And then we will let you go. And then now will be me and Ilker. We'll just wrap everything up here. So Ilker, stick around. But James, have a great rest of your Thursday. Last day of March. I don't know where this month went. And hopefully everybody will check out your book.
Yeah, thank you, James.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right. Here we are, Ilker, just at the very end. It's talking about this for forever. I've got the Tux dinner jacket on with the Jaws t-shirt, hopefully shot out of a cannon a little bit. In Vegas, of course, at 4 a.m. today, one of my neighbors was shooting off fireworks for mad. So by the time I woke up, it had stopped, of course, but then couldn't go back to sleep. So not at volume 11 energy today, but first ever community hour. This bringing community news quicker, closer, amazing guests, quicker, closer, talking about the relevant news information things that impact all of us, community, developer relations professionals. So it's really great, especially for me, Talking Gratitude, have you as like the co-host and bouncing off ideas and things like that. Because it's just like if you're on your sitting out wherever you are in this remote work world, that you've got to have these collaborators, friends, supporters that just help out. So the ideas are like cheap, and it's not like ideas, it's the we and building this. It's so great to have you on board this journey. So any thoughts from you on our first ever community hour?
It's been a hoot, as they say, I guess, in the in the Americas part of the world. But I think it's a testament that the fact that the community hour has actually gone over an hour. It's a testament that it's been a success. So just for anyone listening, because this is the first one, so the program is Blake's idea. It's actually a bit of a change, a bit of a, let's say, an evolution of something else that we recently did. And of course, I was really, really honored when Blake actually asked me to join as a co-host. So it has, of course, it's not the most serious program in the world, but it certainly is trying to fill an important void in that context. So community building is going to, it has, just like developer relations, actually gone over the borders of just community builders per se. It is now, everything is now becoming a community. I'm just referring back to the tweet that you've shared. So it looks like, whether you like it or not, I'm probably going to be referencing to this to my dear friend Todd Nielsen, who's actually listening to us. You're a community manager, you just don't know it yet. So basically, we're all going to be managing communities in that context, or interacting with communities in that context. And it is how nice that some people from the industry have taken their time out. First, you, hopefully me, and a few other people who's actually taken their time to participate by keeping the pulse of the industry, telling people about new things, and of course discovering new stuff. I mean, I knew about of course some of the things that our guests have said today, but I've learned a lot as well, and I sincerely hope that people did the same. So let me try and of course underline that in order to follow us, we have a meetup group, which you're able to find the links on all our channels. We are live on YouTube, we're live on Twitch, we're live on Twitter, and we're live on LinkedIn. And this is going to be the case every week at this set time, unless obviously there's any changes. So please do give us a follow. Consider subscribing to our meetup group so that we can actually let you know about the programs, about the changes, and about the other things that we're working on. So I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed the show. I certainly have. Blake, any words from you?
Yeah, just two things to kind of close this out. So today we had Sammy on with Orbit, with the two waving eyes, amazing tool. Great to see other ways to make virtual events engaging and to just macro build those stronger ties with the community, which is critical. It's also great to have Marissa on, like coming up with just complex topics for covering memes and doing stuff off TikTok. I mean, they're literally working with execs at their company with community content, but also community and meme content. And I mean, that's just an amazing place to be. Like, talk about getting executive buy-in. They're working seamlessly hand in hand with people across their company with community content and with memes and things like that. Just amazing work for someone like Marissa, just original content, original memes, things like that. Then having James Parton on today was really amazing, co-author of Developer Relations book. And then just having a segment going around the world of news and events. We've got the Community Leadership Institute having a big one in Memphis next week for people to check out and so forth. And then as you alluded to, Ilker, next Thursday, 7 a.m., we're going to have another Community Hour weekly show. We're going to have some people on from InVision. We'll see if that's going to be Matt, who that's going to be, another mystery guest. I'm going to have an amazing show for next week. But what I kind of wanted to close it out with today was just a final note of gratitude, right? And so for doing live shows and events, both of us have one person who's been very instrumental and just like kind of a great person in the industry. There's a person that's out there that kind of their quality is that they're constantly helping out strangers, like so much. And I see them selflessly just out there. How can I help you? How can I help you? They're doing so much work to help out other people. And oftentimes you don't necessarily see the other people give them that recognition or thanks for the help, but just at scale across so many different vectors. I see this one person helping out so many other people, right? And so at the organization CMX, they've had this amazing program that me and Ilker both were a part of called CMX Connect. This has been run from the ground up by Beth McIntyre. And just for Beth, I think to close us out on this theme of gratitude, Beth is one of these like unsung heroes in a way in community, just an amazing voice, but I just love their spirit of just helping out complete strangers across the board. What do you need? How can I help you? And then just being able to build up a chapter program with like over 60 countries of just how can I help out other community professionals, right? How can I get all these other voices out there to be heard? And then every time we needed something or things like that, they're always willing to help. So just my final note on the theme of gratitude, and note, Ilker, I'll let you take us out talking about Beth, but just as somebody in the industry, we are just so thankful that we have someone like a Beth. And, for me, with my time at CMX Connect, I'm just so grateful to learn from her, from Valentina, Serena, from Juan Diego, from Jamie at Spotify, and Jeffrey, who was doing the Austin chapter, Katie. And then we've got even today, like Lori and Cassie with Denver, you at Turkey. But just that macro of just, we have to say, just because I see Beth doing so much tireless work, helping out so many people across community, even doing like the podcast now, the sort of new David Spinks position, but just huge gratitude for Beth for not for me per se, but just all the other people out there whose lives you touched in ways you probably can't even imagine. So Beth, my final note of gratitude is thanking you. And then Ilker, I'll turn it over to you for anything you want to say about Beth.
Oh, definitely. I second everything that you say. I actually was Beth's guest on the Community Corner that they're actually organizing every now and then, and it's a short podcast, but it was very memorable, and I'm really, really grateful about the chance to be featured on that, and of course being able to start CMX Istanbul chapter, have some co-hosts, and of course so that we can actually start sowing the seeds of community management here in Turkey, and of course beyond. So it's always there should always be a massive recognition to the people who actually allow us to actually start the infrastructure, bring the infrastructure together for us to be able to build stuff on top of it. And the CMX program is just one of that. We do have a number of networks, a number of aggregation of community managers around the world in different in different places. But certainly, CMX is a great place for you to be in if you're so interested. Of course, you can join the Slack space, which has got thousands of people from all over the world in community management. And Beth is one of the main people behind all that great space where people are talking community management night and day. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and definitely you are one of the reasons why we are talking community today with Blake on this platform of all places. So certainly what we will do is that we will take on this responsibility and sincerely hope that we are able to deliver a similar impact to some other people, especially the newer generation, which I've talked about, so that in the future, when they're trying to set up a few things, they can just say, of course, this was started by Beth, David, and other people who've been like up and early in the industry, and then of course it was Ilker and Blake and a few other people like Valentina and Katie and all the other people you've mentioned. So that is, I guess, the biggest thanks you can ever receive. So on that note, I think it's a great way to end today's great inaugural program, and it has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and it's kind of like with people like Beth, it's just you're just thinking about where they are, not just as a professional in their personal life, and just knowing that they're happy and smiling, it just means so much to you. And so there's the amazing people that are out there in the industry that just are these kind of like the flaming football, these big giant fireworks of heart that just do so much for so many people, and just the butterfly effect, hard to even measure, quantify, but just the community industry is just so thankful to have people like that. And it's just so amazing just when you think of just all the amazing females that we have in our industry as well. It's just so amazing. Just when you get into the world of community, just all the diversity of voices that we have in this industry is so exciting, where you get to talk to people like from Turkey, like with you, Elker, from Cambridge, with James, with Marissa, LA, but there's also people in Nigeria, there's also people in Scotland, and people from all over. And there's so many amazing people, so many amazing females, especially in the industry. It's just like, it just helps to really get you fired up every day, knowing you have that type of diversity. And then hopefully through the community hour, we're going to be bringing you like voices you've already seen, but also like people you may not have had a platform before. So hopefully we can get them. There are just so many amazing people in this industry, but just great for me to just close it out with some gratitude with Beth and CMX Connect, and can't wait to see everybody next week for the community hour. We will close out season 1, episode 1. This is Blake, and this is
yeah,
going the wrong way.
Me.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
yes. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We are not the boring live show, podcast, any stuff like that. If you have things you want to see, reach out to us, let us know. Have people that are awesome guests, let us know. I'll do a giveaway into the chat, and just really have a great rest of your day. See you all again next Thursday. Community Hour, episode 1, done.